So, after what felt like forever, like an eternity, whatever you want to call it, we have finally got here to the point where Wolverine and Deadpool are in a movie together. It's called Deadpool and Wolverine, and we've just watched it. Myself here, Gareth from What Culture, with the wonderful Andrew Pollard, and we are now going to be able to talk about everything. This is
Yep.
fully unleashed. This is spoilers, baby. But before we get there, if you've just accidentally clicked on this video and gone, what the spoilers, get away. No, you don't have to run away just yet. We've got a little video somewhere else on the channel that you can click on, which is non-spoiler. So you can go and enjoy all of our opinions and things on Deadpool that don't go into any spoilers. Go and click on that. And then when you've watched that, and then when you've watched the film, come back here and just have a good time because we're about to go into some detail here. But quickly, before we do any of that, Bollard, I really want to ask you dead quickly, what do you think of this movie? What are your immediate reactions? We are vegetables right now. Our brains are
Yeah.
just melted. But what do you think?
Yeah. This is even like we're recording this again for full disclosure and pulling that little curtain back. Again, wrestling fans, it is 25 past 4 in the AM on this fine Thursday morning. This is Thursday morning. Yeah,
They're all
Thursday
blurring
morning.
together.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm caffeinated. It's all the boxes are ticked. And I've come out of this. I'm a happy camper, man. I'm a happy badger. I mentioned in our non-spoiler review where I don't know how I'll feel when the dust settles. I think I'll still very much like the film, but it's just there's a lot. It is like just a kid having a bunch of like sweets thrown at him, and it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. Give me all these Skittles. Give me all these Smarties, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now I'm just on that little come down. So it's initial thoughts are I absolutely love this film. There is so much to love. And I'm talking like we can't spoil things now. Well, we can. That's the point. This was the point of this video isn't to
Everything.
spoil things. It's just to the main point of this video actually really is to point out some of the Easter eggs that you may have missed. And obviously, as a result of talk about those Easter eggs, there will be spoilers. So again, this is we're okay. If you've seen the film and you want to come and listen to things you might have missed about this, is the video for you. But yeah, my immediate thoughts are I really dug it. And even if I don't dig it as much in the next review, watch so far, it made me feel excited about the MCU in a way that I've not felt for a long time since those rumblings of Tobey Maguire possibly appearing in No Way Home, and then he did, and then I lost my mind. But then since then, it's not really the MCU struggled with me a little bit, whether that's on the small screen or the big screen, to really drum up any excitement. There's nothing that's been I wouldn't say anything's been particularly awful, but it's just been a lot of like just rare bright spots. But
Yeah.
this, my friend, this got my excitement levels massively through the roof.
Yeah, and like just to kind of go through the story in some more detail than what we did in the non-spoiler. So we pick up here and we find Deadpool. He's digging around in a certain grave, and all the way coming into this film, there was a lot of talk of we're not going to touch the legacy of Logan, that incredible movie, that James Mangold movie.
Yeah.
That like we're just not going to touch it. It was perfect. That's happened. We're going to leave it alone. And what do they do in the first scene? They dig it up. They dig up the grave of Logan. And
Literally, it's
pull
even
out.
got the little X gravestone as well that they
This
did
thing on it.
that Laura did for him, Laura and the other kids at
Oh,
the end of
and
Logan.
it's just
Getting goosebumps
wreck
thinking
it.
about that moment. That's such a
Yeah,
good
but
film,
it's
man.
been ruined now
Yeah, they went in,
forever. No,
dunked on
but
it.
it's been ruined in the perfect kind of Deadpool way, if that makes sense. Like that film is fine on its own still, but just
Yes.
just to know that that's where things are going to go eventually is hilarious. Yeah, he digs up the skeleton and he starts fighting off the TVA. The TVA arrive. You've seen Loki, obviously the two seasons of Loki. They're there. The TVA is the Time Variance Authority, I believe. So they're there, and he fights them with the skeleton of dead Logan and gets his claws and all the rest of it. But then we get a typical Deadpool flashback. It's a bit of a oh, you might wonder how we got here kind of thing, and he
Yeah.
he shoots back in time and you actually jump to a point in time where he was trying to get into the Avengers, which
Yeah,
is
basically auditioning with Happy Hogan,
yeah,
who's running through what are your credentials? What have you done? Have you been in teams? And Deadpool just can't help but put his foot in his mouth all the time and asking, like, when's the big man going to get here? As in Tony Stark. And obviously, dotted around this office, there's lots of Iron Man. Well, I guess Iron Man memorabilia.
yeah,
There's the
yeah,
kind of the briefcase suit from Iron Man 2, I believe. Was that Iron Man 2? Yeah, where it comes out of the
yeah.
briefcase. That was there. There's just generally there's like a War Machine head. There's an Iron Man head. There's lots
Is
of
it
little
was
bits
the
around.
young like was the young Spider-Man Peter Parker Iron Man mask there? Was I just seeing things? Like I feel like
That
on
could have
one
been.
of the shelves that I recognized the mask and I was like, where have I seen that
Because it
mask? And
did
I feel
seem
like
it seemed like slightly oversized, that one to me.
yeah,
Because you see there's the War Machine or at least the grey Iron Man style helmet mask behind
Mm.
Happy, and then as the scene kind of gets towards the end, that's when you see a more traditional Iron Man outfit,
Mm.
and it could be that, or maybe that's the sugar that we're running on at the moment.
At this
Um,
point.
but
But
it
there's
was
so much like after this as well. So like he gets dragged then back into his own universe, like a couple of years forward. I think we're in 2024 at that point. He comes forward and he's just kind of given up on life as a superhero. He's a car salesman. He's a bit like, this is who I am. I'm not going to listen to that calling anymore. I'm just going to be a superhero. And everyone's a bit like, really? Is that really what you're going to do? His relationship's just completely broken down with
Blonsky.
Vanessa. Like it's not happening anymore, which is heartbreaking to see. And but everyone comes together for his birthday, and that's quite nice. Everyone still loves him because how could you not love this guy? And they're all celebrating together. And then the TVA come and knock in and drag him away from all that. And that's when we learn some quite valuable stuff, really, some interesting stuff when it comes to just the MCU in general, because we learn of a thing known as anchor beings. I've not really heard of this term beforehand. I don't think it has been introduced in the MCU beforehand, but an anchor being is like the most important being within a universe. And Deadpool's anchor being in his universe was Logan, and Logan obviously died at the end of Logan. So now his universe is like just disintegrating and like being destroyed in its
not
own way.
quickly though. It's like it's we're told it's like it could take 1,000 years or
Yeah.
more. But obviously, there's we introduced a Paradox, who's an agent of the TVA, and his plan is that like, yeah, I like to be more efficient, and we know this universe is going to die, so why wait 1,000 years? We're going to do it in 72 hours. So you can join us and come to it's positioned as like the holy world of the MCU. You can come and join Captain America, Thor, Hulk. We see those characters all on TV screens, which kind of pops Wade, where it's like, oh my god, this is I am Marvel Jesus. Yeah, and he tells Fox where to stick it, because obviously the previous
so
Deadpool movies were with Fox, but he's getting the Disney books now. He's going to Disneyland. What is one line? And so Wade's got this like, oh my god, this is my moment. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to be part of the Avengers. This is all I've ever wanted. And then it comes the reality of like, yeah, but you can't go back to your own time to, see your friends or your loved ones, and you just have to go to this, and your world's just going to die regardless. So it's either, you need to find a Wolverine basically, or just join us. And he ends up stealing the little timey-wimey device, hops over to another dimension. Well,
you need to get into your element here because I do not like in terms of like the detail. Like for me, I was just popping because some of the moments I was like, okay, I kind of understand this reference, but you glean so much more from this than me. So just you run ahead,
Yeah,
run ahead
man.
with
There
you.
was basically we have this fantastic sequence where Deadpool is hopping from universe to universe trying to find a Wolverine that he can convince to come and join this crusade. We see what initially starts off like the first time we're introduced to Logan in the very first X-Men movie, where he's at a bar and he gets kind of greeted there, and he's just very much like tells somebody where to go, and then Deadpool kind of quips wise as he does. So Logan gets off his bar stool to like, he wants a bit of Deadpool, like, who is this guy? And then we realize this is a comic book accurate Logan, where in the comics, in case you're unaware, Wolverine is 5'3", because there was a big uproar because I believe Hugh Jackman's 6'3", something like that, 6'2". He's a big old boy, and so being comic book nerds, as I am guilty of being at times, there were initially kind of beef like, well, this guy isn't a realistic Wolverine. Wolverine's tiny. And we did get this Wolverine, and he's so very cute. He was very, very cute. And then I'm trying to think what order we went to him in. There was Patch Wolf. Yeah, Patch was next, was it?
And I don't know if it was Patch or if it was luscious wavy
Age of
hair.
Apocalypse. Yeah, Age of Apocalypse with the long hair, the black outfit, the metal stump for one of his arms. That's again taken from the comics in Age of Apocalypse. We had one that was taken from Uncanny X-Men, where it's a famous cover where Wolverine had been crucified by the Reavers, and that was quite brutal to see. We did have Patch, which is the eye patch wearing Wolverine in a white suit from the 80s, where he's kind of a vigilante spy. There was a nod to John Byrne, where we got to see a comic book accurate John Byrne suit, which is more brown and reddy orange, colorblind. So give me some slack there. And it's kind of pointed out that, okay, well, this Wolverine, I think you were like, you were fighting the Hulk in the comics, and then we get the Hulk. The Hulk appears. We get Henry Cavill Wolverine, Cavalrine, I believe he calls it, because Henry Cavill is somebody that over the years has been rumored to maybe replace Hugh Jackman if there's going to be a recasting, a new Wolverine for a new MCU. Henry Cavill's up there, and he got to play Wolverine here. and it was great, man. It
There
was
was a
great.
few digs. There was a few little DC EU digs there. I
Yeah.
think it was like, oh, we're gonna treat you better than those guys down the down the road did.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
Who brought him back
just
for Black Adam for that
top.
stinger, just to then bin him off completely. As in, like, yeah, you're gonna come back, you're gonna fight Black Adam. It's gonna be great. We're gonna recalibrate the whole world, and then we just actually gonna start from scratch. Sorry, Henry. We've got a
It still
new
counts,
shiny
man.
Superman.
He's the only guy who's ever going to play Superman and Wolverine. Like it all counts. He's just ticking things off his bucket list. He's having a good time, Mr. Henry Cavill. So yeah, that entire Wolverine stretch was madness. But then he actually does find his Wolverine,
The
Wolverine that
worst Wolverine.
the worst Wolverine, the one that you've seen in all the trailers, all the rest of it. He finds him, and he's drinking, he's having a bad time. Like no one likes him. Everyone's like, "Oh, you are the worst!" Like you because of the stuff that he's done in his universe and been responsible for in his universe, and he's just really, really is rock bottom really at this point. And Deadpool has to kind of lure him out and say, "Come on, like you come with me," and he pretty much drags him out because he gets very, very drunk very, very quickly. And
But he
eventually they
drinks a
get
whole
back,
bottle of whiskey. A whole
chugs it
in
like
one
it's
go.
apple juice. It's a fun time. So he drags him into the TVA, and you reveal that he was wearing pajamas that were iconic pajamas because he was wearing that yellow suit that you've seen now everywhere, which is just marvelous, majestic stuff. And he does that, and then he's pretty much told that no, you can't just get another Wolverine and just put it in your universe. It doesn't really work that way. That's not how we do things. And then all hell starts breaking loose. And they end up thrown into the void, which is something a really big part of the Loki series. If you've seen it, it's just this just abandoned, desolate place, really, like a desert kind of just place where things are thrown and forgotten, and just where things are pruned. That's where they end up. And then you've got the big beastie. I've completely forgot what it's called now. The big cloud beastie thing that's trying to eat everyone and just devour everyone. You've got that happening. But on the other side of the coin, you've got Cassandra Nova. Cassandra Nova is obviously the big villain of this piece. She's played by Emma Corrin. She's unbelievable for me in this role. I wanted more of her. It was another case of a villain that just felt not like ridiculously underutilized. She definitely got her moments. Like she got her licks in, and she was just so much fun. I really couldn't wait for the next time she was going to pop up on screen. She's really mercurial, volatile, but then just playful at the same time. Just having a ton of fun in the role. But this is the Deadpool and Wolverine show, and it very much felt like that throughout the movie. And when she did pop up for the first time, you kind of get a sense that she means business because she does something incredibly graphic to the first mega surprise cameo. Because obviously we've seen a lot of cameos in the trailers already, and a lot of us were like, "Oh, they're throwing a lot of like stuff away in these trailers." My goodness, a lot of big reveals like Sabretooth. He pops up rather early, and you're like, "Oh, hey, this is a big thing."
Toad. Yeah, there's a bunch of them that you see in the trailers where it's like, oh, and obviously the giant Ant-Man head as well, which that's their lair essentially. Yeah, but I think this is the bit where you show off your T-shirt, Gareth. Is it?
This is the bit because this happened, baby. Oh yeah, we went full team Cap. Oh, so we thought. I was sat there in the cinema, and there's a point as a very Mad Max-esque moment begins to happen. People are riding on motorcycles in the desert, and they make a comment on it. They're like, "This feels like IP infringement. This is what are we doing?" Like that's happening, and then a voice suddenly goes like, I can't remember what they say, like, "Oh, there's danger coming," whatever it is, and a lot of people are suddenly like, "I recognize this voice. That sounds very like strong and brave and would like full of courage. Is that Captain America?" And I was like, it's gonna happen. My God, they brought Chris Evans back, and he dropped down, he took his hood off. It was Chris Evans with spiky hair. I was like, what is this? It wasn't Cap. No, it was not Cap. It was the Human Torch. One of the best bait and switches that I can remember in any movie, really, not even just like
I guess
superhero
Deadpool
movies.
was you because Deadpool obviously knows who Captain America is, and he's going to say it, and as Cap goes to say something, or what we think is Cap, Chris Evans' character goes to say something, Deadpool blurts out, "Avengers assemble," only for Chris Evans to say, "Flame on," and take up to the skies, and it's like, and he's got the suit underneath, he's got these robes on when we first see him, so you get the classic Fantastic Four suit. Of course, before he played Captain America, Chris Evans played Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, in Tim Story's two Fantastic Four movies back in the 2000s. Two very underrated movies. They're not all-time classics, but they're a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, and like that was a massive shock, and it was even more shocking what happened to him in the end because he has his flesh ripped off him. Really, there's no other way of putting it. He
Yeah, he
gets.
does. His flesh ripped off, his eyes kind of pop out, and then he just collapses into a heap of bones and organs and
That's
blood.
Cassandra Nova who's responsible for that, and that's the first moment where you go, "Oh, she means
She
business.
means business, yeah.
Yeah, you don't mess with this woman." And yeah, it's just that's like the first big moment where you go, "Okay, there's going to be a few tricks up this like this film's sleeves," and then as the movie progresses, like you eventually bump into another Deadpool at some point. Like you bump into another Deadpool
Nice
with like
pool.
a
Nice pool,
nice
that is.
pool,
With
nice
dog pool.
pool with dog pool, the secret MVP. Not that secret. People knew they were in the film, but an MVP of this film, just so
Yes.
cute with the tongue sticking out, just a good time. And then as things continue to progress, like the road trip continues, like we get some incredible needle drops, which I'll go into a bit of more detail on later on. But there's a great needle drop here with Avril Lavigne as they just driving around. I got again weirdly nostalgic. I was like, oh my goodness, my childhood. And then they eventually get taken back to like a lair, and they're like, oh, this lair's kind of cool. A lot of whiskey, a lot of stuff going on. And in walks like the Avengers of Fox cameos, really.
Well, before that, we have a
Oh,
really
really? Oh,
badass
what have I
action
lost?
sequence
What
in
have I
a car.
lost?
They have the
Oh,
big fight in a
yes.
car. And that's how they basically tire each other out. So this fight for like a day in a car, and it's just one of the most fun action sequences I've seen in a long time. It's
Really
Deadpool, it's
inventive.
Wolverine, yeah, just fighting each other in a car. There's not much space to work with, but they work it really well.
Yeah.
And then they basically both pass out, and then we see somebody gets in the car and drives it off, and then we get taken to this lair, which Gareth will tell you more about now.
Goodness, this lair, man. The people that pop up in this lair. Like you've got we've heard a little bit about this one beforehand. Like we heard that Jennifer Garner was
Yeah,
like going to be popping up, and she does as a lecturer, and that's like, wow, okay, wow, there's a big reveal. Then in walks Wesley Snipes,
yeah, that I
and
did not see
like
coming.
head fell off. I was like, oh right, we're doing this now. Nothing's off limits. This is incredible. Then, wait, I'm trying to think how it went here. So it went dirt, dirt. I think
Yeah,
after this,
yeah, it was.
Channing Tatum walked in as Gambit.
Yeah, complete with a Cajun accent. It was well, it was just the way it was introduced because at first, because they kind of walk in cyber, it almost becomes like cliche and cheesy the way it's like one person walks in and it's like,
Oh yeah.
oh, and then you get like 30 seconds to digest it. Then another person walks in with the same spot, and then for Gambit, you see something just like floats through the air, and I'm like, what is? Oh my god, it's a playing card. Don't even be playing me with this. And then not just is it Gambit, but it's Channing Tatum as Gambit. Now Channing Tatum was previously was supposed to star in his own solo Gambit movie, and it never ever really came to be. Edgar Wright at one point was loosely attached, and it just never happened. And that's like, so this has been like over 10 years in the waiting. It feels well, maybe 15.
He was a
But
part
yeah,
of the superhero selfie they did at Comic-Con years
yeah.
ago, and he just never got to do it, and now he
Yeah.
has, and it's just
And he
lovely.
looked amazing, man. In terms of talk about comic book accurate, the outfit, the headgear, the boots, the jacket, just everything was like, oh,
Yeah.
chef's kiss to coin the phrase. Just absolutely perfect, man.
And then after this, like, they have a bit of a back and forth. All the characters interact, and it's just surreal, really.
Yeah,
Deadpool, Wolverine, Gambit, Blade, and Elektra just all just bouncing off each other, crazy stuff. And then after this, Daphne Keane walks in, Laura X-23 from the Logan movie. Obviously, Logan's daughter in that movie. That's a whole thing. That strange dynamic now, where she's seeing a guy that looks like her father, Logan. That's not the same Logan. It's all strange stuff. And then after this, we then learn a lot more about exactly what Logan had done in his home universe to really make him like public enemy number one. And for the life of me, I think my brain had I was processing all these cameos at this point. I was just like, I don't know what was going on. So I kind of half missed what was happening in terms of he says something about like he goes off and he got drunk and came back and like people were hunting mutants is
yeah,
what I caught, and they went, I'm assuming, to the mansion, the Xavier School of for gifted youngsters, and have killed all
yeah.
the
Well,
X-Men,
that's what I got from it. Is that yeah,
yeah.
he always pushed back on wearing the suit. Of course, in the first X-Men movie, there's the line about like, what do you expect? Yellow spandex. When they're putting the outfits on. This time we get the yellow spandex. Not quite spandex, but yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough for me, brother. Absolutely. So yeah, Logan talks about how he never really liked the colors, never really liked the outfits, blah 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 blah. He walked out on the X-Men to go and get steaming in the bar. When he returned home, they were all dead. And then he went on basically kind of revenge and just killed a lot of bad people, but then also went too far and killed a lot of
Yeah.
innocent people, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's why he's in the dark place and viewed as the worst Wolverine, because he essentially tarnished the name of the X-Men, of mutants, and so that's why he wears his X-Men. I'm getting goosebumps talking about this, man.
Yeah.
I feel like The Rock just doing the yeah, and that's why he wears his X-Men colors now, as basically as a tribute to his fallen buddies who he felt that he let down, which is like, yeah, it's all very heavy stuff. He
Yeah.
has some great exchanges with Laura, and the whole time he's drinking whiskey still. Yeah, man, it was really nicely handled.
Incredible performance from Hugh
Yeah.
Jackman. I think that's another. There's a few emotional cores I think of this movie. Like, obviously, from like you've got Deadpool's and Logan's. Like you've got these simultaneous just foundations and like that driving forces for them throughout the movie. And this one was really because you'd heard all about like Wade's through the trailers and everything else. It's his world. He wants to save his world of his family and his friends. That's what he wants to do. But with Logan, it's a redemption thing to
Absolutely
a certain degree.
would. Yeah.
It's to redeem not just himself, but like just to honor his friends, the legacy of the
Yeah.
X-Men. It's
Even
seeing that.
At the beginning, it's like he's not even looking for redemption. He's down and out, and he doesn't
Yeah.
want to get any better. He's just like, no, this is my life now. Everybody hates me. I'm just gonna get drunk every day. And he's not really looking for redemption, but he kind of stumbles across a little bit of it. And just as well, before we move away from the cameos, there's some really fun exchanges in there as well that are Easter eggs of sorts, where there's an exchange between Deadpool and Blade, where I think it's Blade says like, "Oh, I never liked you," to Deadpool, and then Deadpool's like, and never would have guessed or something, or like I knew, and because obviously Ryan Reynolds played Hannibal King in Blade Trinity, and him and Wesley Snipes supposedly had lots of fallouts on set and did not get on and did not speak for years. There's also, we're told that by Elektra that the Punisher died in that world, that somebody else, I can't think who it was,
Magneto.
and then Magneto, yeah, and Daredevil. And then obviously Daredevil and Elektra are a couple in the comics and in the movies that they're in. And so Wade kind of says like, "Oh, it must have been you must have felt bad about Daredevil." And she's like, "Yeah," because obviously that was played by Ben Affleck, who is her ex-husband these days, long time ex-husband. So yeah, a few like nice little nods in there.
While on that subject, there was also a Hugh Jackman divorce line pretty much in this
Yeah.
movie that just got an audible gasp in my cinema. We were like, you can't go there. But they
That
did.
was why he was wearing the top, because he let himself go since the divorce, which he very much has not let himself go. Jeez, man.
No, he's jeez, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, later on. But also, there's a really quick, great exchange between Wolverine and Deadpool when they eventually go like charge up to Cassandra and take on all of her army and everything else. There's a bit where Blade, Wesley Snipes' Blade, goes, "I'm the only Blade," and Deadpool just looks at the camera like he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what we're about to do.
Blade is another
Eventually.
callback with Blade about people still trying to ice skate uphill. It's like that.
Ah.
That's a line I've not heard in many, many moons.
And it's one of them, like, I'm kind of cautious of and mindful of the fact that, like, there's a lot that we still need to get through. So I'm kind of dancing over this a little bit because it's a great fight sequence that happens. Like, we kind of have this group taking on all of, like, the kind of a who's who of villains from like, the X-Men movies over the years. Like, that goes down. And then
I'm
eventually...
sure it's the Russian. I'm sure because there's a dude that they show on camera prominently a couple of times with the red and white striped top and the beard. And that's... I'm sure that's supposed to be the Russian, played by Kevin Nash in the Thomas Jane Punisher. He actually stabs. Nash gets stabbed for real in that when one of the stunts goes wrong. And I think this is supposed to be their take on the Russian, which if the Punisher's in that world and obviously perished, then that would make sense. You've got Azazel. Everybody said Lady Deathstrike. It's just Toad. I always like seeing Toad. Pyro, who's one of my favorite characters from that original run of X-Men movies.
He gets his moments. He gets
does, man.
moments.
He takes a lot more. He gets a lot more time in the spotlight than I thought he would, and I'm very happy with that.
And then eventually, what they have to do is trying to get the Juggernaut's helmet on top of Cassandra's head because that can like block out her powers or like nullify her powers in a similar way to what Magneto's helmet would have done. But she'd destroyed that because she sensed it was going to be a bit of an issue. So that's what happened there. But they got it on her. And eventually, I think after she'd been shot by Pyro, who'd been in cahoots with Paradox, and like that's its own thing, the TVA, like they'd all been in cahoots. So he'd been a bit of a turncoat, and then in order to save Cassandra, they had to take the helmet off, and that was a big risk because then she could kill them. It's this whole thing. And eventually she's like, right, okay, I'll pay you back a little bit. I've got a sling ring here because Doctor Strange came through this void and she killed him. Just took his ring. So that happens. Does the sling ring, sends him back to Deadpool's universe. And then it's here. We've not even mentioned this, but there's a thing called the Time Ripper. I think it is. The Time Ripper, which is...
Time Ripper.
I can't remember the full, like, physics and science behind it, but it was something that could get rid of a universe very quickly is what I'm kind of assuming it was. And that was now operational, fully operational at this point. And as Wolverine and Deadpool come back, Paradox comes out and he's like, oh, go away. Like, we're nearly ready. We're nearly done. You're going to ruin everything. And then Cassandra comes through and she's like, oh, I've heard you got this Time Ripper thing. I want to use it. And I'm just going to destroy loads of universes. It was the vibes I was getting.
Yeah, exactly that.
That's not something that anybody wanted. So, like, they thought we're going to engage. They're going to engage with Cassandra. But Cassandra just, like, sends Deadpool and Wolverine flying. And once they return from, like, a shop window, they then have to take on the Deadpool Corps, which were name dropped a little bit earlier on in the film, just like as a throwaway thing, but we finally see them. And it's just an army of Deadpool. It was really every Deadpool that you could ever possibly want. You had Lady Deadpool.
Yep.
We had like a cowboy western Deadpool who we believe was played by Matthew McConaughey.
Supposedly, yeah. There was because a lot of these were from the comics. So there's the Golden Age Deadpool, which is the one with the gas mask. There was Headpool, which is from Marvel Zombies, which is just the head. Nice Pool turns up, who doesn't have a healing factor.
Oh boy.
Deadpool 2099, Zenpool. There's a whole bunch from Kidpool.
There's a Deadpool that you
Pool.
very much like. Come on. Tell the world the Deadpool you love.
Well, this is an original creation for the film, as far as I'm aware, but I'm going to christen him Diepool because it's as in DAI Pool, because he's got the Welsh flag on him. And as a Welshman, sat here in my Wrexham shirt. Ryan Reynolds, of course, co-chairman of my beloved Wrexham AFC. I've just watched this film in the Wrexham Odeon cinema, so it was very nice to see some Welsh representing on the screen. So we got a Welsh Deadpool. Nice.
It was very, very cool. And then that kicked off a sequence. That was
also, well, I remember
it
was something that we saw in the trailer, but the shop that they come out of is called Layfield's Just Feet, which co-creator of Deadpool, Rob Layfield, famed comic book artist for years, man. He is kind of infamous in the comic book world and comic book circles for not being able to draw feet. So a lot of the time when he draw characters, he'd either the feet that would be a bit naff, and I've been with Rob Layfield, a lovely fella. So the feet that would be a bit naff, or he would just draw position things where that you couldn't see the feet because he was kind of very aware that my feet don't look great, so I'm just gonna, my composition is not going to have feet visible. So yeah, that was a nice little nod of Layfield's Just Feet as the shop that they come through before the big ruckus.
It's just hide your weaknesses. It's a good thing, just a good lesson in life. But then this all kicks off a sequence which is just chaotic. I was struggling for words for it because it just all went through my mind again. And you get Hugh Jackman with his Wolverine headgear.
Oh, dude.
First time ever.
Yeah.
It's got a pop, big old pop. Headgear's on.
It looks so badass. It looks so badass.
My only issue with it, I didn't like it. Felt like the CGI masky thing again, like similar to what we'd had with like Thor and like they do it with the Iron Man. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it looked a bit off. And I think in this sequence, I love this sequence. I will say, I thought it was brutal. It was hilarious at times. It was rousing, and it was all set to like just like a prayer.
Yeah, Madonna.
Yeah, it was all set to that. So it was really rousing and great, and I was getting chills. But there were just a few really clunky CGI moments for me that just took me out of it. It felt very.
I think for me, it wasn't as bad because I accidentally booked a 3D screening of the film.
Oh.
So obviously, if you've got 3D glasses on, some of them may be clunky 3D.
Right.
It kind of passes by a little bit easy, and you don't notice it as much because you've already got the weird trippiness of 3D on top of my normal glasses as well. So yeah, I didn't realize it was 3D till I got there, and I was like, oh, what's the 3D glasses for? Thinking, is there like maybe a sequence in there? He's like, it's a 3D screening. It's like, oh, okay. I've not watched the film in 3D for years.
I'm assuming the bit when they come out of the back of the bus must have been quite cool then, because that was like a slow-mo thing coming out. Whereas in 2D, it just felt a bit cartoonish bit, and it kind of jolted me a little bit. I don't know if that was the intention to a certain degree, because obviously Deadpool falls flat in his face. He's like, I ruined the whole thing. But that it kind of jolted me a little bit. But that sequence in general, I will rewatch that to death because I had such a fun time with that. You see Wolverine go full berserker mode in his yellow costume. It's just...
He does it a lot. There's the fight with Sabretooth. Just that was I was a bit gutted there because I really liked Tyler Mane, the guy who played the original Sabretooth, played Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's movies, played a whole bunch of horror roles, as well as being a wrestler in WCW back in the day. So I always like to see him. But yeah, it was a very brief appearance. But I liked the first fight between Wolverine and a Deadpool where in the desert where Wolverine's like on all fours running at him. It's like that's cool, man. That's yeah. Just anyway, I've sidetracked there. Back to
No,
way
no,
back at
no.
the beginning of the
It was
film. I've
very
only got
cool.
5 minutes left of this recording, so let's
So
move forward.
we'll jump forward because like they get through the Deadpool army, and then eventually they do get down into this like time ripper thing, and they're told that the only way they can stop it is by like disrupting the current, like
Yeah.
breaking the current to a certain way. So that involves one of them getting in between like the matter, whatever it is, and then like just putting the body in between it. But it'll mean that they are killed in the process because nobody can survive that. And they're like, we are regeneration monsters, you watch us. And they then go down. They have a bit of an exchange, Deadpool and Wolverine. They finally seem to bond and go, you know what? Yeah, we're pals. We're good old pals. Wolverine goes, I'm going to go and do it. Deadpool goes, all right, cool. I'm going to go see my family. And there's a bit of a switcheroo. Wolverine's like, what are you doing? Deadpool goes, I'm going. And he has like a spot, it's a spot
Yeah,
moment
it's a
from
little
Star
spot thing
Trek.
on the window, and he
Like, on the
closes the
window,
door.
he's like,
Yeah.
ah, and he just starts like walking down the stairs. It's very silly, but again, quite just this
Well,
cocktail of emotions.
it was at first I was like, this is kind of the gag's going on a bit here because he does like a bunch of different like walking down the stairs because while Wolverine's looking through this window that he can't get through this like metal fortified door. But then to be fair, Deadpool does say like, I'm just killing time because I'm really nervous about this. It's
Yeah,
like, well, there we
it's
go.
really sweet.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is. Like I'm
That's
just,
what I
yeah, just arsing around being a dick because I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very nervous about. I'm about to go and kill myself and
Yeah.
hopefully save all of mankind everywhere.
Want to try and make your mate laugh a bit one more time before you get. Yeah, it's a great moment, and then you see just as he's starting to do this, like you're figuring out that he can't get his arm far enough across to get the other bit of the machine, but then Wolverine comes in, they do it together, and that's when you see the full shred. They really wait and paid off this moment of just seeing Hugh Jackman's shredded physique, just
Yeah.
veins and muscles, and they're doing all that. I'm a big wrestling nerd, you can tell, I like all the big muscles, and it was just like, wow, really cool moment. And they combine together, living on a prayer, just like a prayer was going off. Living on a prayer would be very different in that moment, but that goes down. They destroy the machine by doing it. They defeat Cassandra, and then at the end of it, it just seems like the TVA are kind of going, oh, okay, you guys saved the day a little bit, so maybe we'll give you a call if we need your help again. And the way the movie's kind of left, it feels like Wolverine and Deadpool are like this new little unit, this double act together. Like they stay in Deadpool's universe by the end of the movie. Like they're all sat
X-23
around.
gets brought in as well. Laura gets brought in
X-23,
by the end.
So they're all together. They're all having food, and it seems like Vanessa and Wade might have a bit more of a future now, which is a bit of a weird one. He's like, "I've saved the world. Do you love me again?" She's kind of like, "Yeah, actually." And it's like, okay,
Yeah, I did it for you. Oh, thanks. Of course,
How
they
it
have
works.
some. Logan and Wade have some shawarma as well, which is a nice little nod back to the end of the very first Avengers movie, where they go and have shawarma, which is it's mentioned and then shown in the mid-credit scene, I think, if I remember rightly, in the first Avengers film. Yeah, so it all ends on a very nice note. Everybody is kind of happy ever after. Logan is connecting with Laura. He's now got some new friends in terms of Wade and his inner circle, like Colossus, Shatterstar's there as well, which is always nice to see him with a very, very minimal role. And then that's kind of it. We get a really lovely montage, I thought, in the end credits, of basically a summary of the Fox films, because that is at the end of an era. So you see the X-Men movies, you see the Fantastic Four movies, Josh Trank's Fantastic Four movie in there. Which ones have I missed? Blade, Punisher, Elektra, Daredevil.
Any Fox movie
Affleck
that
one.
there's
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
been with Marvel, they're all there. You see all these behind the scenes things, and it's just the really, again, it's that feeling of, I mentioned this in the non-spoiler, it felt like a real love letter to Marvel and all these Fox films that didn't necessarily I haven't been appreciated as much in the last like decade or so, because this MCU revolution's come along and everyone's going, oh, they're the real Marvel movies. And forget about all that trash that we've had before. It's like, no, there was a lot of good there. And even when it wasn't great, there was still a lot of effort and heart put into those films by the people who were working on them. So it felt like a salute, bit of a blow a kiss to those people. It was all that good stuff. And then you had the post-credit scene, which was kind of a payoff of the joke of how Deadpool got Johnny Storm killed, like saying he said all these horrible things about Cassandra.
And he actually did.
You did. You got it on cameras. That was a really funny moment. You just seen Chris Evans just say some of the most incredible cursing you'll ever hear. I can't repeat any of it because the video will get taken down, but it was just chaos. But just to kind of send off this video right now, that for me, I think the big question coming out of this again was like, has this saved the MCU? Like, what happens next? I think for me, I feel like Marvel very much set up here that you've got this double act, this dream team of Wolverine and Deadpool. That there's still a lot to kind of mine out of this friendship, this relationship going forward. I want to see him interact with all the other characters in the MCU now. Just seeing the few interactions that we have with some icons of superhero cinema was already pretty cool. But I think just in general, it was one of the finer kind of experiences I've had, like watching a Marvel movie. But that is our spoiler review. So let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. We've had a lovely time talking about it. Our brains are fried, so if any of that's made any sense, that'd be great. If it's not, then I just hope you've had a good time watching two people who love our Deadpool and Wolverine ramble on and just try to make some little ounce of sense. Thank you very much for watching. I have been Gareth from What Culture. This has been Andrew from What Culture. Have yourselves the best of days, and I'm going to go and lie down in a heap somewhere. Bye-bye.